Hey everyone, Staci Wallace here. We had some technical difficulties on our last live, so we are starting over so that you guys can get the full meal deal here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's topic is going to be extraordinary and a very important topic about how to make more than $1 million. I've got a special guest I'm going to be bringing on here in just a minute. I think that's the elusive dream a lot of people have. How to make $1 million, how to have a 7-figure income. I see people all the time posting, how I went from sleeping in the back of my car to earning a 7-figure income, or, what it feels like to have been a waiter and then to earn a 7-figure income. What is it about a 7-figure income? We're going to talk about today how to make more than $1 million. Now, we have been tremendously blessed in our life. We've seen, we've had companies that are $1 million. We've had $100 million companies. We've been part of raising up $1 billion companies. And I can assure you, my brother once said something to me when we were building one of our companies that went over 100 million. He said, guys, the hardest million you will ever make is the first million. And it's so true. I remember years and years and years ago, we were actually out, he liked to marathon run and jog, and I'd like to tell you right now that I was out on a 13-mile run with him, but I wasn't. I was about in the first mile. But I remember him saying, the hardest million anyone will ever make is the first million. Well, today we're going to talk about what it is to make more than $1 million and how you need to position yourself, your mindset, your psychology to really have the life of your dreams. Now, I want to bring on here in just a second our guest, but before I do that, I want to say thank you to those of you who have been sharing and liking these Warrior DNA posts. You've been pushing them out, and I really appreciate that. I wish I could share all of the private messages that I get from people that didn't know who I was. I certainly don't know who they are, but because you've been sharing, the message is getting out that the Warrior DNA is a life of faith. It's a life of courageous entrepreneurialism, but a life truly wanting to see, we say, boom, breaking out of mediocrity, the mediocre emotions, the mediocre perspectives. Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing. And when you do the like and share, of course, you get entered. Each week we give away CDs, we give away trainings, we give away books. This week's like and share winner is none other than, drum roll, Heidi Doyen. Congratulations, you are this week's like and share winner. So please keep sharing. We'll do another drawing next week. And today, I had the great opportunity, the privilege of actually having brunch with 3 extraordinary businesswomen. Powerful, beautiful. I mean, if you saw them walking down the street, you would be like, hubba, hubba, wow, drop dead, knockout, bombshell, gorgeous boss babes, but very successful. What I love about powerful women is when they show up in their authentic truth. And these women didn't show up with ego or, like crazy kind of attitudes that a lot of women can. Instead, they showed up in such a tender spot of wanting to go and grow to another level. We sat there literally for a couple of hours, just, it was amazing. Here I am, I'm a woman that's been married for over 20 years and obviously love my husband. We've got a great marriage, we've got great kids. And these were 3 single women who are aspiring to have that in their lives. What I love about leaders who are constantly, whether it's watching Warrior DNA or reading a book, pouring into yourself, you're wanting to grow to another level. And I love that. It makes me so want to give and give and give and live my life in this season. I love being called Mama Staci. I love the fact that I've come to a place where I'm not trying to acquire more stuff, but we're truly trying to empower and give and pour into others so that we can raise up kings, queens, and rulers of nations. Well, today, I'm going to bring on a very, very special guest to share with you some principles that I think can change your life forever. Recently, we met a young man, and he is aspiring to be a millionaire. And I remember there was a day in my life where that was an aspiration. I want to make $1 million. There was a day in my life where I wanted to be a Grammy Award winner. There was a day in my life where I wanted to acquire, because I really felt like when I get there, I'll be happy. When I'm making a 7-figure income, I'll be happy. But what we're going to talk to you about today is it's okay to want more. It's okay to want to grow. Obviously, we want you to scale your businesses, scale your compensation plans, scale the vision that's before you, go above and beyond, be the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath. But what I want to speak into you today is to make sure that the ladder of success that you're trying to climb is leaning up against the right vision, leaning up against the right building. Because what you don't want to do is get to the top of that ladder and realize, I don't really want to be here. I remember having a young man that came over to our house. He was phenomenal. He was being trained by one of the best, what do you call them when they cut your face and your body?
Oh, surgeon.
$1 million. Plastic surgeons. Oh my word. He was studying under the best plastic. He was a phenomenal plastic surgeon. And I remember we were painting. He was a good friend of ours. We were painting in our house, and he came to the conclusion that after all those years, I think it was 8 years of education, all of the preparation, obviously he was already a great surgeon, now studying with one of the best surgeons in all of the United States. He came to the conclusion, I don't even like what I'm doing. I don't want to be a plastic surgeon. And today, I want this guest to help you see into maybe a different perspective of I want to be a millionaire, or a different perspective of I want to be successful. Please help me welcome somebody I have fallen in love with for the rest of my life. I think he's the sexiest man on earth. I'm going to ask my husband today. He doesn't, you guys know this isn't his favorite thing to do, unless he's driving in the car with his buddies talking about nonsense. So we thank you so much for doing this and being a part of this. We don't have mics on, so we have to talk that way.
That way.
That way.
She's telling me that so I know which way to talk.
Yes. We are going to talk about how to make more than $1 million. Now, for those of you that don't know, Larry is a very successful businessman. He has had a tremendous, not only did he play football for Texas A&M and had crazy good success. How many championships?
Three Southwest Conference champions.
So lots of rings, lots of notoriety, lots of papers published. You were a big man on campus, guys. You guys would go to the restaurants. Everybody knew who you were. So even from your young 20s, 18, 20 years old, you know what it's like to be the guy on top. Well, you went from that into sales and eventually partnerships and acquisitions and companies that started from scratch with my brother and took those to $1 billion market cap, and then other companies at 100 million. And you've lived that life that a lot of young entrepreneurs say, someday I want to make $1 million. I want to have maybe it's I want a salary of $250,000, $300,000. No, I've arrived when I've got that big salary. Or I want to be a senior partner. Mm-hmm. Titles, commas, cars, things. Mm-hmm. What did that, you came to a place in your life, and obviously we've been blessed in creating residual income. And this is what we want to talk to you about today, is why those of you who are right now, you're building residual income. I want you to hear why it's so important for you not to quit. No matter what business you're with, don't give up on that residual income. And here's why. What happened, obviously in my company, the company that we're with, I've been blessed to do very good, make a solid income. And you got to a place after you had watched me do that. I'm traveling around the world, posting pictures from beaches where I have the laptop on my lap and say, this is my desk.
It wasn't fair. So here, you know, we've had a lot of success, and there's been some great companies that we've been a part of. And, you know, even when you're an equity owner in the company, meaning that you have bought in through your own finances in order to create a company from scratch. It's still hard, right? You know, even though you advance through the ranks of a company and you get to the top level of the company where you're they call it the C-suite, the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, the CEO, you know, whatever. you think that that's what your goal is and that's what your destiny is. And honestly, a lot of people, a lot of men, a lot of women wrap up their self-worth in them achieving one of those goals. And we've had the great success and had the great fortune of being a part of companies that happen to go public and that we own stock in, and then we did really well. But money's not everything. And even if you do really well with money, if you don't invest it really well, it can go just as quick as it came. And so one of the things that I found is that even over the course of the last few companies that we created, they were successful companies. We had lots of sales, lots of customers, scaled up into the tens of millions and then into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And always trying to figure out how we can make the company successful and how we can continue achieving the goals that we set for ourselves. And I found myself spending a lot of time away from home. I found myself spending a lot of time on things that seemed like they were important, but really they weren't that important, right? Creating a company whose stock is valued at a certain amount of money, or achieving a certain title or winning a certain customer or something like that. I mean, there's some importance to that, don't get me wrong, but really what was most important that I was missing out on was my family. Which, in me, if you were asking me what some of my core values were at any point in my life, family is right underneath my relationship with Christ. And so having that relationship with my family was missing because I was always trying to build those companies and everything. And so for me, we got to a place where, like Staci was saying, she was so kind and sweet that whenever she would be traveling, she would be in Mexico or Puerto Rico or somewhere where there's a beach. She would take a picture of her feet in the sand with a laptop on her lap, and you could see the ocean out in the background, or maybe it was a pool. And then she would say, hey, this is what my office looks like today. What does yours look like? Knowing full good and well that I'm sitting behind a desk staring at a wall.
And what's interesting is I wasn't doing that to lure you away from what you were doing. No. But hindsight, that was really mean of me. But at the same time, what it was doing was speaking into his heart about his core values. Now, obviously, we don't recommend anyone stepping away from their job. You need to provide for your family.
Absolutely.
But here's why I wanted to share this is it doesn't matter if you're working at McDonald's, if you're driving a bus, if you are a stay-at-home mom, if you are a corporate executive, if you're a doctor, a lawyer. It does not matter what you do right now. I just want to challenge you to have a residual strategy that gives you an exit to what you're doing so that one day you can live the life you've designed versus a life that you've designed by default, right? So the guy that was...
someone else's designed for you.
Yeah, like the guy that was the plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm. His family wanted him to be a plastic surgeon. He spent all this money, so he kept going down that life because that's what everybody expected of him, but it just wasn't what he loved. So there's a decade of his life poured into a life that he didn't even, the ladder was resting up against the wrong building. And so right now, you may be doing what you have to do. But what I want you to do is start to think like a chess player. Think 6 moves out. A grandmaster is able to think beyond the 3rd, 4th, 5th move because you want to look, where is this taking me? So let's say right now you're doing everything you can do to put food on the table. Awesome. Love that. That's what you need to do to provide for your family. But don't neglect having an exit strategy to that rat race. Robert Kiyosaki talks about, the cash flow quadrant, of course. The rat race is constantly being behind the 8 ball, having to work hard, always trying to catch up. And we already know that 80% of all Americans spend over 20% of what they make. Meaning you're always going to be in debt unless you make some strategic choices to shift your perspective. Well, that day, of course, I was making a healthy 6-figure income. You're making a healthy 6-figure income, and you said to me, Staci, I have a proposition for you.
Yeah, so we were at a crossroads, and I'd been giving this a lot of thought, but we were at a crossroads where some decisions were needed to be made in the current company that I was involved with, that we were equity owners in. And I told her, I was like, look, you know, I can either go this direction or I can go another direction, where this other direction would be us giving up my income for a season of time to for us to be able to work together and build a residual income. Because here's one of the things that I found: it doesn't matter how what your rank is in the company. It doesn't matter what your title is in the company. If at some point, whether it's your boss or whether it's your investors or whether it's your board, they decide that, you know what, they don't need you anymore, you're out of a job. And you could be one of the equity owners in the business. It doesn't matter who you are in the business.
Yeah, equity, it means nothing unless there's some type of an event, like goes public, that there's dividends or they sell. And that happening is so rare. So many people create their packages going into a job. Oh, well, I've got equity in the company. Time has told us it would be better for you to be putting your extra time into something that is residual. So here's the great thing about residual income. You do something today and it pays you over and over and over and over and over again, because you've got customers that need, want, and have to have what you've got month after month after month after month. So creating a residual income is paramount to ever having an exit strategy. Now, this is going to be a principle that will be so taught, because the life of work for 40 years and then get a good retirement and Social Security is gone. I think we all know that. So my question to you is, what is your exit strategy? Now, I want to say, first off, holding your hand like I'm waffling with you. You made that decision to give up. And we wouldn't have made that decision if I wasn't doing as well as I was, because that would not be wisdom, man, just to quit your jobs and say, I want my wife to retire me.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
But I was making more than we needed for our minimums in our house. I was making enough to pay for everything that we needed to live on.
Right.
And we said, if we're going to be a couple that leads by example, do we want to lead by example that enough is never enough? Or do we want to lead by example that live a life that you look back and instead of saying, I wish I had,
I'm glad I did.
My God, I'm glad I did. And you were wishing to have more time with the kids, wishing that you could be a part of our morning devotions. And you made that decision. You gave up the title, you gave up the corner office, you gave up the notoriety that comes with that. And you said, I'm going to take the next 3 to 5 years. You've already got a residual income, Staci. Now I'm going to take the next 3 to 5 years to build the same residual income that I've been making. I'm going to build up to, you know, the 6-figure income that I've been used to making. And even if it takes me 3 to 5 years, it'll be worth it because I own my life. So what was it like for you this week when your son had his first car accident?
Yeah, so first off, it's been amazing because, you know, now instead of having to get up and go to the work, you know, before everybody else in the household's gotten up, I get to get up with my family. We get to spend time together, spend devotions together. And like Staci was saying, that there's times in your day where some unexpected things happen. And there was a situation that happened this week with Peyton. Actually, a couple situations happened this week that I was able to just stop what I was doing and just go. You know, I didn't have to ask off from work. I didn't have to leave the office and drive a half hour, 45 minutes. You know, I was right there, and I was able to be there,
first
be present.
Responder.
Yeah, be the first responder for my son in his situations that he had this week. And so, honestly, that wouldn't have happened if I was quote unquote working for a company or doing what I've done in the past. You know, things would have been different. And I have to say, my life now is so much more peaceful. I live life on my own terms. We live life on our terms. We get to do things together as a family.
There's no cap to what we make. When you're building residual, no one tells you could stop. You've got too many customers. You just keep acquiring customers. We live to give now. You know, this week my son sliced his arm open, just a silly accidents, but you had to have 7 stitches, you were able just to go, you know, just to be there for them. And what is the price of being able to be there for the first? So you guys heard me talk about the first time your son walks, the first time your son talks, first time your son has an accident, first time your son cuts his arm open, when your daughter comes in and she's emotional, and you know, what is the price of that? That is more than $1 million. You'll never ever be able to get those moments back. And so if you're living to build someone else's company, you're living to build someone else's dream, what you're doing is you're living to give them the freedom to have those moments of firsts, to be able to be there to golf when they want to golf, to go to the beach when they want to go to the beach. And my question for you is, do you have a residual strategy that allows you to live the life of your dreams? Second thing is this. It is predicted that we're going to go through an economic crisis, I guess some people would call it, downturn, recession, whatever you want to call it. Are you prepared that if the market shifts, do you have a residual strategy built on things people can't live without? You need to do that because there's going to be shifts in your life. So if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you own a business that's a retail establishment, or you're selling retail products, then I encourage you, consider having a way to make more than $1 million cha-ching residually, so that you can live a life that's worth more than $1 million, so that you can be there for your kids, so that you can travel with your family, so that you can give up maybe some of the things right now, the time. Man, I just love watching my football. Give it up for a season. Take that same time, pour it into a residual strategy, create a future for your family. But I can't give up my season tickets. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. For a season, so that you can have a lifetime by design versus having to constantly live in the rat race. So I thank you for sharing that. I know that that's always awesome to get you on here. But I do know that his life has changed dramatically. And he's a corporate executive. You know, he says I retired him, but he'll never retire. He's just made the shift out of a life of doing what he had to do. Now he does what he wants to do, building a residual income so that he can live life by design. I want to encourage you to do that. What are you doing today that gives you the opportunity to have a life worth more than $1 million? If that promotion at your corporation is going to steal you away from the things that matter most, is it really worth it? If you're going to have to give up peace in order to get profits, is it really worth it? Now, I'm all for, you know, sweat equity and working hard, and sweat equity being hustle, making that your #1 currency. But I don't believe in hustle that steals away from the peace of your family and your core values. So how do you make more than $1 million? Like Zig said, money's right up there with oxygen. But money can buy you a house, it can't buy you a home. Money can buy you books, but it can't buy you wisdom. Money can buy you a bed, but it cannot buy you peace or rest. Make sure that you're spending the most of your time on is you to love, truly love a life that makes you say, wow, I'm glad I did. I love you guys. Please share this. Somebody needs it. Somebody needs to hear the message of why they need residual in their life so they can have their life back. Remember, now is the time. This is the place, and you are the one to help us make life better for many. God bless everyone. Have a great week.